Good afternoon, and welcome to today's Public Safety Subcommittee meeting. In this particular case, I'm the council president, but I am replacing Ira Novoselsky, the chairman of this body, who has asked me to sit in his absence. He's in traffic. So as soon as Ira gets here, he'll be taking over the chair. We have one order of business before us, and first I'll call the roll. Councilor Novoselsky is not here. Councilor McKenna? Here. Councilor Patch? Here. Councilor Powers? Absent. Councilor Rotundo? Absent. Madam Clerk, for the edification of the people at home, Public Safety Subcommittee is a motion presented by Councilor Rizzo that the City Council requests Dan Cameron from National Grid to appear before a City Council subcommittee to discuss measures both the city and residents can take to prepare for winter storms that could cause power outages, and how the city and residents can deal with outages should they occur. Councilor Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I think the motion pretty much speaks for itself. I think we oftentimes find ourselves in an emergency situation where we're not sure what's happening or what has happened leading up to a major storm, so that we can maybe prevent or mitigate any damage or any further outages by taking some proactive measures. And I just have developed a list of questions that I have, but I might just want to hear, for starters, what National Grid might have to say in terms of what they do in preparation for winters and major storms, and then I can just follow up with the few questions I have.
Absolutely, Councilor. In the interim, we received a communication from Dan Cameron from National Grid begging that he cannot be here this evening, but he did sign someone in his place who will represent National Grid, and she'll answer every question that we have to ask. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, please. Press the button.
Sorry about that.
Dan would have done the same thing.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Faith Hassel. I work out of the 170 Medford Street office in Malden.
Okay. Councilor Rizzo.
Well, thank you, and thank you very much for appearing. Rather than have you explain what National Grid might do, I've just prepared a few questions that I just wanted to make sure that National Grid might be aware of or on, because as you know, being a coastal community, sometimes when we get hit with storms, we can have quite a few people impacted by that storm, oftentimes including power outages. So I just wanted to ask a few questions. Some have to do with preventative, some have to do with in the event of an emergency, but I'll start off with preventative. What is your process of ensuring that low-lying tree limbs are not too close to the power lines? Like, does your arborist conduct ride-outs to Revere to make sure that these are looked at, and even as well as, you know, maybe double poles that we have, and I know we have these monthly meetings, but that those are secured for any major storms?
So to answer your first question, Councilor Rizzo, with regard to tree trimming, so we trim on a 5-year cycle. So every 5 years we come out and we'll trim out all of the feeders, which are the lines that serve the community. In addition to that, any customer or community member can call us and ask us to do a survey of the area, or if there's a specific concern with their house, or if they see a tree leaning, or if the tree has just grown exponentially since we've trimmed it. We'll always send our arborist out and work with the city arborist as well to review the concern and provide ad hoc trimming if it's needed.
So it's in every 5 years you'll check out trees?
Correct.
Along Revere roads? Okay.
Yep.
And if residents have concerns about trees that are caught up in the wiring and everything, is there a number or some place they can call to have it addressed?
Yep, so our customer service line, 1-800-322-3223. They will collect all of that information with regard to tree trimming, and they'll supply it to our forestry supervisor.
Okay, and in the event of a power outage, is it that same number people would call if they lose power, or do you have another number that maybe we can put out there for our residents' edification.
Yep.
You know, that they would call if they experience a power outage. Because a lot of times people just don't know what to do at that point. You know, they find themselves in the dark and major storm going by. So
Yeah.
maybe you could talk about that just for a second.
For sure. So to report an outage, we actually use the number 1-800-465-1212. And I actually brought some storm tips that we can supply. We can also supply an electronic version as well. You can also, do you want to hand this one out too, if you don't mind? And then, so the second sheet is we've implemented a new system where customers can actually text us. So in that sheet, which I should have kept one for myself, to be honest, because I don't remember the number exactly. Thank you. Sorry, this one. So if customers were to text 64743, and they can text capital R, capital E, capital G, that would register them, and all they need is their 10-digit account number. And then anytime moving forward, if they have an outage, all they have to do is text out to that number, and it's a two-way communication now. So once they register for this new platform, if there is an outage in the area, we'll notify them. We'll actually proactively send a text message being like, hey, we see that there's an outage in your neighboring community. We just want to give you a heads up. We're working on this. And then as we have updated estimated times of restoration, we'll be texting them continuously, and they can always text us back and forth. So that's the newest thing that we have is texting capability, which is super cool, and hopefully customers will begin to use that and find it effective.
Okay, just a couple more questions.
Of course.
How are your outage restorations prioritized? You know, if you've got a major outage here in the city, what does National Grid do in terms of prioritization?
So the first thing is to just remind customers to always call in an outage. So in order to make sure that we have as much information as possible to know how many customers are impacted, we just urge customers to always call in their outage. And then when it comes to prioritizing, we prioritize based on restoring our big lines, so our transmission, our sub-transmission, our substations. And then when we get to the community areas, it's based on number of customers being able to be restored in the quickest amount of time. So if, you know, if setting a new pole and connecting the line to that new pole will re-energize 1,200 customers, we would do that first over maybe a side street where there's another pole that needs to be repaired but only restores 5 customers. With that, though, I would just urge customers to always call our customer service line and let us know if they use electricity for life support. So if they have a respirator in their house or any other type of life support equipment, to make sure that we know that, because it'll come up in our system, and we'll do a proactive communication to them before the storm to let them know, you know, we see incoming weather coming in, make sure that, you know, you have alternate areas to go to if you are in need of electricity. But we'll also check in with them every day. We'll have a live customer service representative call them. But if we don't know that they have life support, then we can't call them. So we would just urge them, always call that customer service line. They'll be provided with a form to fill out, and then we'll be able to update their account.
Yeah, so I think that's extremely important. So people that have life support issues, they should register with National Grid.
Absolutely.
And then that way there, you'll be proactive with them in the event of a storm. Could you just repeat that number for them, for anyone that might be listening?
So it's 1-800-322-3223. And just call and let them know that you're a life support customer. And that'll help us update our records as well.
Okay, and then I just have one last question, Mr. President, and I appreciate your, your information. I think it's very important that we know, because obviously coming into the winter months, it's kind of too late to start asking questions once we're couple days out. So last question that I have is just, how do you communicate with the residents? I mean, obviously, we just talked about the life safety people that you would be proactive with. If you know that there are outages, you know, one thing that I've always noticed with power outages is people just never know what the anticipated time is going to be, how long are they without power, and
Right.
do you guys do anything to kind of relieve that anxiety on people so they're aware? Is there a program where if there's not life support issues, but just people in general that want to know when's my power coming back on,
Right.
how do you communicate that?
So we use something called Outage Central, and customers can go on our website, and if you just put in your account number, it'll show the outage that's related to your house and the estimated time of restoration. We know that sometimes those restoration times are not 100% accurate, but anytime we do get updates along the day, we will update it to make sure that we give them the most accurate information. So Outage Central, if you just go to our website, I believe I also put it in that document as well, which I can share a PDF so you can post it if that would be helpful. That's the best way to find out restoration for your specific area. Additional ways that we communicate: Facebook, Instagram, our website, any type of social media. We'll do storm preparation, public service announcements via the radio or TV as well. So, but always call our customer service line and just keep us informed.
Okay, well, Mr. President, thank you for the latitude. I thought this would be good information going forward into the winter months, and actually, this is real good stuff, too, that we can use for our constituents, so we can make this available to them so they know how to react when this type of situation happens if they were to lose power. So I appreciate you being here, and say hi to Dan for us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Council. And obviously, being prepared for something like winter storms is something that we all should be mindful for. So thank you for your presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. President,
Go ahead.
just one more thing I'd like to add. Anytime there's a major storm anticipated, National Grid does an outstanding job. They open up the Storm Command Center. They have special numbers for public safety, not for the public. So in case of a real emergency, we can get right in direct, and they can redirect their resources
Good to hear.
if it calls for it.
Good news.
All right, thank you.
Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. President. I reached out to Dan before the last council meeting. He was supposed to come up, and he couldn't make it. I was contacted before that meeting by George's Auto Body, 163R Revere, the rear rather, of Squire Road. He was waiting to get gas connected. It's in front of the property, but he was having a problem in getting the gas company, National Grid, to show up. So unfortunately, he wasn't at the meeting. I couldn't talk to him.
Can I offer a point of information?
State your point, Councilor.
I don't mean to interrupt your counsel, but I did speak to Dan today about this very issue, because I've gotten 100 calls on this very issue. And he's promised me that he's going to get back to us tomorrow on it.
Councilor Patch.
That's quite all right. Thank you.
What was the address
But,
again?
pardon me?
What was the address again, just so I...
It's 163 Rear Squire Road. And now, I was concerned really about Dan's health. I know he had a problem before that. I was just going to ask you if he was, because I already called the guy and told him that I was embarrassed a little bit because I couldn't respond. I said, I'm not getting a response.
Yeah.
And so I thought he might have been ill again. But I'm glad that what Counselor Zabuto says is going to happen, or already happened. I don't know. It didn't happen yet? No, it's going to happen. Okay, it's going to happen.
Going to happen.
And I got one.
I'll make sure to follow
So
up.
is it
And if you
winter?
want, I'll give you my card and you can call me up.
Definitely.
I got one other question.
Council Patch.
As far as trees on the private property, on the residence lawn, I know when I was a police officer, that's like, I'm talking like 12 years ago, we used to get details. A contractor used to come and if the wires were touching the trees, they would trim the tree. And I've had people call me, and I haven't seen them in the last few years. Are they still doing that?
The details or?
Oh, no, I don't care. No, I can't do details anymore. But
Private tree cutting?
the chief might be concerned about that. But I'm worried about if that is still being done, so they won't have to pay for themselves to
Yes.
come have it done.
Yep, so we still do cut private trees as long as the customer gives us permission to do it. So we'll go out, we'll send somebody from our forestry team to talk with the customer, make sure that they're okay with us entering their property.
Right.
Typically, they like to be there as well, which is also fine. And then we'll send out a tree cutting crew as long as they've given us the approval. But we definitely still cut on private trees.
All right, then, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council Patch. Before I go any further, I was remiss in not mentioning other councilors who are here joining us this afternoon. Councilwoman Jessica Giannino, Vice President Patrick Keefe. Councilor Powers was a member of this committee, just showed up about 10 minutes ago, and we're glad to have him in attendance. And Councilor at Large Tony Zambuto. Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. A couple of things. When you call the number, with the 1-800 number, you have three choices, one for gas, one for electric, and one for life-threatening. I've been on the phone for 15 minutes waiting for someone to answer the phone. If it's a life-threatening situation, does someone answer right away?
I do believe so, yes. So
Okay.
that has to do with if there's a wire on somebody's car and like life is endangered.
So you don't have to wait 10 minutes to get a person on the phone?
Right.
They'll answer right away. Okay. And the other thing is I have a problem on 761 Winthrop Ave. We had a double pole, pole 76. They removed one of the poles, but they had concrete around. I've been asking for this for 4.5 years.
Okay.
They had concrete around the two poles. Now they've taken away the one pole, so there's just a big pile of concrete in the middle of the sidewalk. And it's a corner of a long walkway in Beachmont. I think it's 761 Winthrop Ave, I'm not really sure. But it's a long walkway with crosswalks and everything, and it's right there. So if some person, was walking, they didn't see it, they're gonna trip over it.
Right.
Thank you. So I would really like it removed now that there's no double pole.
I'll certainly
Thank you very
follow up on
much.
that. Of
Thank you.
course.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Zambuto.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for coming this evening. I spoke to Dan Cameron today, and he told me there'd be a very capable woman here tonight,
Thank you.
and he was not lying. I appreciate your efforts and your knowledge, and welcome to the Revere City Council.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a question on a street light outage.
Okay.
I mean, I've called some of those 800 numbers, and I've been on the line for 20 minutes or even longer in some cases. Is there a number that you would call that would deal directly with street light outages?
So we used to have a system where you could report it online. Unfortunately, we don't have that system anymore. It's still the regular customer service line, but if you give me the number, I'll work with our.
I don't have any right now, but in the past, I mean, I had one on Revere Street, and I called, and I was on there for like 20 minutes, and then I was told that they had to get a police detail down there to change the light. And well, that light didn't get done for 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
So that's an inconvenience, of course, to residents that, as far as public safety is concerned.
Definitely.
So is there a number specifically that you'll call?
It's still the regular customer service,
Really?
1-800-322. But if you'd like, I can give you my business card. If there is a few that are outstanding, I'm happy to
Yeah.
follow up on it.
No, I'll be talking to Dan tomorrow on another issue, so
Okay.
I thought you might know off the top of your head. Thank you.
Yep. Okay.
Well, we
sounds
certainly appreciate your attendance here this evening because this is an important part of our community, weather storms, and we're on the coastal line where we experience all kinds of nasty weather,
Definitely.
even in July. So we need National Grid by our side and willing to go forward with us to prepare for these storms and to service our residents as best we can in these immediate times of danger. Any other questions from any member of the City Council? Hearing and seeing none, this closes this hearing. Thank you very much for your attendance.
Oh, thank you.
While we have everybody still in the room, the chair just came in, and I would like him to take over. Chairman Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sorry I'm late, folks. I guess the next order of business was it Force 911 or 911 Force? Enforce, okay. Why don't you step to the microphone? This motion was put in by Council Rotundo, and he's not here, so why don't you give us about 10 minutes or so if that's what you need?
Sure.
To just give us an overview of what this is all about.
Sure.
Thank you. Name and address for the record.
Sure. My name's Brandon Flanagan, and the address is 230 Broadway, Linfield, Mass. Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. We were asked to come and discuss the Enforce 911 school safety application. We're based in Linfield, Massachusetts as a local organization, and we work in school safety primarily. We have an application that we've developed that essentially serves as a mobile panic button. It specifically is a real-time threat alert notification system in which we empower teachers, faculty, staff, administration with a means to launch an alert from any technological device they have in front of them, leveraging any mode of connectivity, Wi-Fi, cellular, or Ethernet, and to send that alert directly to the Revere Police Department in a matter of 12 seconds or less. The alert will be sent to the dispatch center locally, also to the MDTs or the in-car computers of the officers, and then through our revolutionary mobile application for law enforcement, they would also receive it on that end as well. The information is specific to the classroom number from where the threat originated. It opens up a two-way chat dialogue. So the mission here is to not only reduce police response time, but increase communications from the point of contact back to the local agency. And so from that perspective, law enforcement can communicate directly to the initiating individual inside of the building, opening up a real-time two-way chat element. And furthermore, it also expands that notification to everybody else in the building. So other teachers, faculty, and staff members are made aware of the threat in a real-time scenario, what the threat is, with the ability to enter the chat room and add additional information to the chat room as it may be pertinent. There are other nuances which accompany the software that law enforcement receives specifically. That includes links to any IP-based camera feeds inside or outside the building, so we can integrate the cameras into this platform, while also incorporating the floor plans or the schematics and even emergency operational plans specific to that building for the benefit of law enforcement, which is presented in a streamlined environment. That, in essence, is a very brief overview of the Enforce 911 software.
Thank you. I know we have the chief here tonight. Chief, are you aware of this, or have any idea what's going on with it, whether or not
Yes,
this is
also,
applicable to the city of Revere?
I spoke to the superintendent of schools today, but she's delayed coming back from Washington on a school matter. We've been looking at several different options for School Alert. This is one of them. As you know, Revere was one of 4 communities to receive a school safety grant. And some of the money might be able to be used for the School Alert system. So there's a couple of companies. This is one of the better ones. So we're looking at options, and then myself, the superintendent, will probably make a decision on what would be adequate for the city of Revere.
Thanks, Chief. I'll start down the end, Councilor Janito, if I would.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm glad this is before us, just for our knowledge, but I think at the end of the day, it's a decision that's left in the chief's hand and the superintendent, and I think that they're very capable, but I'm happy to be in the loop. But I think it's a little more fitting in front of the school committee. Thank you.
Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would agree, but I also did want to mention that I would certainly be in favor of this type of technology. You know, doing some research, this is a great motion. There are a lot of companies out there, as the chief had mentioned, and I guess without going through it all, because this isn't going to be an interview process, I would certainly be in favor. I have 2 children in the Revere school systems, and anything that you could do to more protect our students and faculty I'd be 100% in favor of. But I guess what would be some of the major differences between your company and the other app-based platforms that are currently doing what your service provides?
Sure.
Quick ones.
Quickly in response to the question, not only are we a local organization, of course, but what's unique about this is the communication platform that we've established between those inside the building experiencing a threat and law enforcement. The platform is not only CJIS 5 compliant, which is how we operate in the native law enforcement environment, it's also FIPS 140-2 certified as well. That's the encryption rate or standard that the FBI has set forth as it relates to how we safely secure and encrypt that data, all of which is stored uniquely in the government services section of the Microsoft Azure cloud. We provide reverse notification functions for law enforcement in which they could reverse notify the schools of Revere in the instance of a potential threat that they're otherwise unaware of, in addition to being able to integrate floor plans, the schematics of the building, and IP-based cameras of that building as well. Those are some very unique differentiating factors between us and others.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, not Madam. Sorry. A couple of things. I was a school teacher for 32 years at the Revere High School, so I understand safety and the threats, and nowadays it's terrible. But I was just wondering how much the software would cost if the city of Revere got it.
Sure, very good question. The pricing model ranges depending on the number of schools and usually some type of site survey, but typically it's a site license, recurring model annually, and we're in the ballpark of somewhere between $24,000 and $3,000 per school.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, I'm concerned, there's only 3 other cities and towns in the Commonwealth that utilizes 911, Force 911?
No, sir. There are somewhere in the ballpark of 40 to 50 communities in Massachusetts alone utilizing the software currently today.
Okay.
Worcester being the single largest customer site in Massachusetts, of course. And then we have a presence which ranges from Maine all the way to California, frankly. So Maine down to Florida and
I'm
into
talking
California.
about in Commonwealth of Massachusetts,
Between 40 and 50.
40 and 50. Because you mentioned 3 here, I'm just wondering, I don't have the knowledge to know how many actually. So that's probably a fifth of the population in the community, in the Commonwealth of Mass that's utilizing this product?
I'm not sure how many
Again,
cities
I
and
think
towns there may be, but
what it is this particular jurisdiction lies obviously between the mayor and the superintendent of schools and the Revere Police Department. But it also goes far to let the mayor and the administration and the school department and the chief know that the city council's on board with something like this.
Sure.
In order to protect our school children. And so we obviously, as a community and members of this community as counselors, want the best for our children. And so we're looking forward to seeing or working on this in the future. And obviously this isn't something you just sit down and make a decision overnight with, but it's one to give serious concern to, because it's a protection for the kids of our community. So I look forward to working with the mayor and the administration and the chief to resolve this as quick as possible.
thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Patch.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sir, of course, I would be in favor of anything that increases the security of the children. Myself having 2 granddaughters in the school system. You know, but again, I would, you know, I'd gladly back the administration, like Council Grasso said, the administration and the chief and the superintendent. I mean, that's their decision, but I mean, yeah, they definitely have my support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think with the everyday occurrences you see on national TV all throughout the country, I think that this is something that has to happen, whether it's through your organization or another organization. This is going to require more input from the superintendent and the police chief and the mayor. However, I do think it's something that is certainly necessary and should be fast-tracked, given the occurrences that happen. One question I have is, let's say there was an incident at a particular school building. Does your information have the capability to direct diagrams, entrances, exits, room locations to the police department immediately?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. That populates automatically through the initial alert message to law enforcement.
Okay.
And that's all incorporated or streamlined through the
So they
platform.
would have that coming in on cruises or whatever way
Yes.
they would be coming?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Council Rizzo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is an excellent motion by Council Rotundo. I've been asking about school safety for a while. I mean, just in 2019 alone, I believe there are 22 school shootings. So, you know, sadly, this is the world we live in today, and I think we have to do everything we can to protect students, faculty, administrators. You know, everybody needs to be adequately protected, and anything we can do, Mr. Chairman, to make that a reality, I will support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for coming this evening, and this is very informative. Did you bring any literature with you tonight? You're going to leave some with us.
Sure. Yep.
Obviously, I support this type of system. I'm hoping yours is the best because we want to hire the best. And if yours is the best, you'll be the one that they hire. So, again, thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming tonight. And I look forward to moving forward with some type of system. And hopefully yours is the better one and we go with it. Thank you.
Thank you. We believe we are.
Thank you, councilors. When you said $3,000 per school, that's $3,000 per school per year. Is that correct?
So the price typically decreases by about 20% after the first year. And
Because of all the
because the initial
software stuff?
the initial configuration and networking. That's,
Okay.
yep.
Now, I'm sure this will be going out on an RFP through the purchasing agent's office, but where it's a school, is this a school department budget issue, Chief?
Mr. President, with all due respect, no one's decided to buy this product yet, and we're looking at different options. There's no one more concerned about school safety than me and the superintendent of schools. It's the one thing probably in this job that keeps you up at night. God forbid something like that ever happened here, and we want to do everything we can in our power to prevent something like that. So we're looking at this technology, and the gentleman did call me, but I was on vacation, and we're going to look into it more. I'll be going to the Chiefs Conference, and they'll have all the latest technology there, and then we'll sit down and brainstorm. Jonathan Ferrara, who's the IT guru for the city, does an outstanding job. We'll have a lot of input in this. There's a lot involved in this. We have to worry about false alarms. There has to be policies, procedures. So it's not just buy an app and turn it on and start using it. There's a lot more that goes along with this. There'll be training involved, what the response will be, and also the cost. I do have one question. Is it an unlimited number of devices per school?
It is unlimited,
Cell phones and computer terminals?
unlimited applications, devices, and unlimited users.
Okay, thank you.
So I would think that this is something that's going to be, unfortunately, long-term. You know, I don't know if it'll happen this year because of all the technicalities that we have to go through. And it'll probably be a budget item when we do our budget, whether it be for us or for the school department, depending on where the money's going to come from, or if there's a grant somewhere that's popping up. So with that, I thank you for bringing things forward to us tonight, and it was very informative, and I think it's something that we want to go with and look and see who got the best product.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have no other business on the Public Safety Subcommittee, so I will close this committee meeting right now. Thank you.